One of the feelings of, which might start business, well, there are a lot of feelings. And I see in the audience quite a few of successful Lithuanian entrepreneurs, and we can say that it might be love, it might be curiosity, it might be, I don't know, envy maybe even. Also, it can be a frustration, and we know a lot of success stories. When you do something, you try to get some kind of service, and you do not receive the quality you expect, and you became frustrated. That's normal. And then what can you do? Well, you can go and lodge a complaint in some agency, or go online and lodge a complaint, or maybe you can just do better than these people who fail to provide that service. So a lot of businesses are being born out of frustration. And this first case that we are going to hear about, I think, might be the perfect example of that. Private jet charters and individual seats, and they tell us, quote, compare, book and buy. Chairman of this company, Mr. Alex Sazonov, is brought to that company 40 years of international experience, 35 years spent with a brand I'm sure known to everyone, Hewlett-Packard. He served as the general manager of Hewlett-Packard Worldwide Channel Business and vice president of customer advocacy. He was responsible for creating strategic partnership around the globe, such as sponsorship partnership with FIFA World Cup or Formula One. He retired from Hewlett-Packard, but, and I think this will be a recurring theme in today's conference, he could not sit idle. Maybe he was also frustrated. So let's hear from him. And I welcome to Kaunas Mr. Alex Sazonov. Please welcome.
It's great to be back in Lithuania. I was just thinking that this is probably my 10th visit and possibly my 5th visit to Kaunas, where we have excuse me, developed a very good relationship together with my partner here, Will Cardwell. I'm also a member of the Minister of Economy's Investment Advisory Council. And, you know, we met about 2 weeks ago in Vilnius, and we made a joke with the minister by saying, speaking of continuity, you know, the council has survived 4 ministers of the economy in Lithuania. You know, we have been there from the beginning, but we've seen 4 different ministers. Maybe that's okay, but it shows you the fact that you know, there is a discontinuity in terms of you know, government people and so on. But the nice thing about Lithuania is that despite that fact that you have changed ministers and so on, the continuity has been very strong on the entrepreneurship. And I'm not saying that because I'm here. I don't have to say that, but I think your entrepreneurship culture, your efforts, your projects are really amazing. And I really think that it's paying off, and it will pay off in the future. So I'm very proud to be associated, even though indirectly, with Lithuania and specifically with Kaunas. And I'd like to thank my relationship with your rector Petras and co-rector Asta and Violetta and also Almanta. So we have this relationship, and I hope we can continue to work on them. Yeah, as the moderator told you, my case study is an interesting one because it illustrates this point of innovation, and innovations can come in different ways. And as he pointed out, that all of us have been in situations where you see something or you experience something and you say, boy, that is not good. I can do that better. And that can be a housewife, that can be a business person, that can be a teacher, that can be another professional. But we all see things that we like to improve and change. Not all of us are capable of making the change, but all of us are experiencing this desire, particularly in this new world of networking where people talk to people, people talk to things, things talk to people, things talk to things. So this networked environment where we are so aware of what's happening around us forces us even more to be critical. And we always talk about the power of the consumer today. So let me talk a little bit about this case study that I've been involved in from the beginning. And how many of you have attended last June the presentation by Sir Richard Branson? Okay, quite a few hands. And you may want to recall, or maybe you don't, but his success with the airline Virgin Atlantic is also, well, there's a ghost here, is also based on frustration. Just as a quick anecdote, Sir Richard Branson was 19 years old, deeply in love with a lady, and she was in the Virgin Islands. So he flew to Miami and wanted to badly and desperately and emotionally see his girlfriend. So he sat in the lounge, and the flight either was canceled or was overbooked, and he couldn't get there. So Richard took a piece of carton and wrote down on a piece of carton with a big felt pen, I will fly you to Virgin Islands for $30. Who comes with me? And he walked around, and within 10 minutes, he filled up a charter flight. You know, within 10 minutes, he had a plane chartered, and he put people on there, and they left. Out of frustration, he created a very successful Virgin Airways. Now, the case I'm telling you is probably not going to be, or maybe not be as big as Virgin Airlines, but it's an interesting one anyway. So now we're going to see how this thing works here. We'll click on my name, right?
Yes, I will help.
Yeah. Oh, there it is, yeah. Great, thank you. So the study we'll talk about is, and this is the description of the company. It's called Victor. It's the world's first quote, compare, book, and buy platform for private jet charter and individual seats. So that's where the innovation came from, and the idea of the frustration came from the founder sitting on a Ryanair in London on his way to Mallorca, and the flight was delayed as usual, Ryanair. No food, no drinks, no information, hot weather, lots of frustration. So he talked to a few people on the airplane. Some of them were high net worth people, and some of them were just frustrated passengers. And he said, we should create our own airline, isn't it, to be able to get out of this Ryanair frustration. So very similar to Richard Branson's story, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. So frustration, innovation ideas, and the Victor example. So the first part is I call a discovery. And as I said, burnout of frustration, you see an example of an airport, a normal day on an airport. And this is the founder, happily sitting in a private plane. He has done about 10 startups. About 4 have failed, not bankrupt, but failed. That means he pulled out in time. Two previous ones have been very successful, and this is the third one. So he's what you call a serial entrepreneur. He should have been here today, but unfortunately, for reasons beyond his control, he couldn't make it. But I promise to the Kaunas people that we will make up for it the next time. So what was the model? Well, the model is the following. The private airline business is totally unregulated. And unregulated means you can basically do what you want. And the business today, if you want to use a private plane, you call up a broker. And a broker is an individual that has a telephone and a fax, and that's all. And the broker gets a request for a flight. He goes around to several aircraft operators, like you have 2 or 3 here in Lithuania. One is called Charter Jet, and the other one is called Class, and I think there's a third one. So you call up, and the broker gets a quote from the operator, and he then manipulates the quote. He probably puts a nice little markup on top of the quote. He calls back to the customer and says, I have a quote for you for let's say euros, 10,000 euros to fly you to a plane with 4 seats to London. The customer typically doesn't have time to go around and find other quotes, so he says, okay. So what happens is the broker makes the least contribution and makes the highest profit. The aircraft operator makes very little money. The broker makes a lot of money. So the idea of this model is we cut out the broker. We make it very transparent, and that's why why the system is based on the website. So the website is very transparent. You see exactly what the quotes are from the operators. Victor gets 5% commission. It's all on the website. You can choose your airplane. You can choose the size of the airplane, whatever is available. So the transparency is very critical. So the innovation here is to do away with the middleman who makes basically very little contribution and gets paid horrendous commissions. So Victor, in a way, think of instant accessibility. Those of you who are familiar with Uber or with Hilo. Hilo is a taxi service in London where you have an app and you can contact the app and see where the taxi is closest to you, and you can reserve that taxi to come and pick you up. It's a fantastic program. It's a global marketplace, and it's an exemplary customer service, which means that the total customer experience of Victor is very important. So membership is free. Go to the website. You can become a member. There are over 4,500 members today. You register and you tell them which flights you are particularly interested in. Let's say you're interested to fly from Kaunas to London. And when there are flights available, either you can reserve your own plane and hopefully other people will join, or you can join another flight and you get an email that tells you there's a flight going to London or going to Amsterdam or whatever. It's completely transparent. That to me is one of the major contributions of this program. And you pay online. You pay either through a bank card, HSBC, or you can even pay with a credit card. And if you're a frequent flyer, like we have today, then you just deposit, for example, 50,000 euros, and you just take the flight price off the amount you've deposited. You see what you're chartering. You see a picture of all the airplanes that are available, and I'll show you in a minute how many planes are available today. And you can choose your own airplane. If you want to fly with your dog, you can take a specific plane. If you fly with your whole family, or you fly with business people. Sell spare seats and keep 70% of the revenue. Very interesting. When you take a flight from Kaunas to, you charter a flight from Kaunas to London, and the flight comes back empty, you pay for that empty flight. So what we're doing is we make these empty seats available for other people. So if somebody's in London, wants to fly to Kaunas, sees that there's a seat available, can book that seat, and you get 70%. The original buyer gets 70% of the revenue back. So this is a great program. And the customer trust. As you will see, we have about 40% of our business is repeat customers. Interesting little anecdote. We have a couple of celebrities on the flights. And it's very nice to have a celebrity on the flight, but they're the most difficult people. You have to really be careful, because if you screw up a celebrity, it travels through the net, and it becomes what's supposed to be an apostle becomes a terrorist. This is always what I talk about customers. If a customer promotes you, it's an apostle. If the customer destroys you, it's a terrorist. So if you have a celebrity and you don't take care of the details, he can destroy your business. And details means the right kind of champagne on the airplane, the right kind of cookies for the dog, the right kind of chocolate for the children. So it's a double-edged sword. But customer trust is very important. So very quickly, in 24 months, we've booked and exceed. Actually, it's a little bit below. We have 800 jet charters as of today. 80% of all the transactions are done online. If a customer orders online, the commission is 5%. If a customer needs hand-holding, phone calls and so on, it's 10%. So there's an incentive to do everything online. So you want to make sure that your website, and this is maybe another point to emphasize here, your website has to be absolutely perfect, friendly, fun to use, and very efficient. And our website is continuously updated. We get feedback from customers saying, yeah, it's okay, but I can't do this and I can't do that. So make sure your website meets the customer expectation and meets your business goals. 40% of all quotes end up in a booking. And a genuine quote is not, hey, can you tell me approximately what it costs from here to Moscow or so? No, a genuine quote is, I have 4 people, business people, that need to fly to Murmansk. can you give me a quote? So just a quick ID. We have 550 aircrafts available and 130 certified operators around the world. So this is a business that's gone from the UK to global. We have now an office in Moscow because the Russians are really flying a lot of private jets. And we have an office in Munich, and we're planning to put an office in Helsinki to cover the Baltic area, the Nordics and the Baltics. But you can see those are all different models, all the way from head of state flights. We've flown in people. Hey, I'm going to show off my pointer. This is the maximum power allowed pointer in the world. Oh, it doesn't work so well. It works better this way. Sorry, with better batteries, it would work better. But anyway, so you see there are 8 head of states. We have flown people in from Singapore for the G20. And the beauty about transparency means that you get a document that shows exactly what you're spending on the flight, which means that for governments it's very important to show to the accountants or the commissions, how much you've spent on private flying. Okay, just a couple more minutes. These are just some partnerships we have. Orient Express, a big one is Lamborghini. Not too many Lamborghinis in Lithuania yet, but we'll have other partnerships. Shangri-La Hotels. These are people that want to fly, privately into these events. I'm not going to go to this slide, too many details in there, but maybe the last slide has to do about sort of the business model. So I mentioned 5% flat fee, 10% for if it requires an account manager. Financing, very interesting, and deals again with entrepreneurship. The financing original was done by the founder and a couple of friends, so friends and family, £1.5 million initially. Once the program got rolling, we went back to the other shareholders and asked them if they wanted to invest in the next round. And we attracted people that actually booked a flight to become investors. So today, we have booked almost £6 million in the next round. And it all comes from shareholders and new shareholders. So we have avoided private equity, we have avoided VCs. And my recommendation is if you can avoid VCs and private equity, as long as you can, do it. Nothing against them, but it changes the whole influence that they have on your business and the freedom they have. So that's a very interesting financing model that has worked very well for us. But the third round, when we go to the US is going to be very expensive, probably $15 million just to get going. I think we'll have to go up to the private equity market to doing that. Differentiators. This is an example I always call, get yourself a hill. The hill is this private jet website-based services. Get yourself a hill and then fortify the hill. Make it very difficult for your competitors to get on top of the hill. Anything that is successful will be emulated by a competitor, or a competitor will try to emulate you. It's like a honeypot, oh, we can do that too, we can do that better. So make sure that you fortify the hill. How do we plan to fortify with Victor? One is the platform technology. To be able to do this all online, automatic, is very, very difficult. And we need to spend a lot of money to try to make that platform so unique. That's going to be our IP, that we can make it more difficult for any competitor to get up there. We've hired a person who did the software for Hilo, this taxi company, to help us out with doing that. The transparency is a very important differentiator. The volume, get as much volume as quickly as possible, because that's more difficult for anybody to emulate. The brand, make your brand so strong that people say, oh yeah, for private, I want to fly Victor. And finally, the total customer experience. I cannot hammer strong enough what it means to really do the hand-holding of the customers that are flying privately, or for anything for that matter. The little details, the big things are easy to do, but to fill in the little gaps between the big things, the little details that the customer appreciates are much more difficult, and it's a 24/7 business. The future, well, the future is, we're updating the website continuously. There will be a mobile app coming up in the first quarter. That means you can just on your mobility see if a flight is available or not, and it shows a map where the flights are going. And the next thing is what I call the revalidation of the business model, is we're going to go business to business. Now we're business to consumer, business to business. And this is the last point I want to try to make. The perception in some countries, in Lithuania I'm sure, and in Finland very strongly, is that flying private on a business jet is exorbitant and is probably a luxury that people cannot afford. So you immediately will get in the newspaper if you fly privately. So we have this perception of waste, but on the other hand, we have the ability to save people a lot of money. If 4 business people from Finland that do quite a bit of business in Russia with factories that are outside Moscow, hard to reach, if you have 4 or 5 business people that need to go there, it's much more economical from a point of view of cost and time to fly a business jet. So we need to balance, get the perception of waste down and get the perception of economy and productivity up. So this business-to-business model is the one that we're working on today. So anyway, very quick story. This is the success factor of Victor. It's like many innovations, it will disrupt. In this case, it will disrupt the broker position and profession. But that's what life is all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But just after the case studies, if we have some time, there is some time for short questions. So, Mr. Sazonov, if you could just stay with me for a little bit, yeah? I have also a few questions. Well, I can't help, as a journalist, I can't help myself, sorry. You mentioned that the Ryanair and the issues with the Ryanair were the catalyst of study. Isn't it a really wide jump, you know, when you are not happy about low-cost airline, you decide, oh, okay, I'm gonna go and create a private jet company, broker. Why is that gap that wide, or is it doesn't really matter in creating new ideas and new businesses?
Well, you have to look a little bit at. You have to look a little bit at the evolution of the aviation industry, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking to you about how the aviation industry is going to change. But what you're seeing today in the triangle is the Middle East, rich Middle East countries based on oil and so on, are going to dominate the high end of the aviation market. That means you're going to have 380s planes, big jumbos, with lounges, with beds, with studios, unbelievable luxury on these flights. So you have the top of the triangle for luxury flying. Then you have, on the bottom, you have the Ryanairs, or you have the low-cost airlines. And what happens is, I think the Ryanairs and the EasyJets will be quite successful because they will have very low rates, and some people don't care. They said, I don't care if my neighbor is sitting on top of me for 25 euros, that's good enough for me. But what's happening is that some of the middlemen, what I call the legacy airlines, they are trying to get down to there, and they're not going to succeed. So you're going to see in the next few years, an unbelievable disruption of the legacy airlines in between. And I think what Victor can do is to actually pick up from each of those segments the people that say, look, cost me a little bit more, depending. If I have a lot of people, the price goes down. So you'll see private jet services, not only Victor, pick up some of the people that say, I don't want low cost, I want to have some facilities, some pleasure in my traveling. So I think you have to look at it in the connection of where the aviation industry is coming. But it's doom and gloom, at least for the next 10 years. So.
But are you going to battle that stereotype that you also mentioned, that the private jets are only for the cream of the crop, for like that 0.1% of the audience and flyers?
And not anymore. That's
right.
the big lesson here is that when we talk to people and they see how the price can come down if they have more people joining the flight, or if they pick up 70% of the revenue of the return flight, they say, hey, I can afford that. So people that have never thought about flying business are now changing their minds and flying in, if they understand the model.
Yeah.
So it's no longer, we thought in the beginning that this was going to be for the high income section, but it's not, it's coming down very quickly.
Okay.
But that's what the brand should do. So.
Okay, thank you very much. It was Mr. Alex Sazonov. Before we move on to the second case, I also would like again to refer to our internet viewers, the Delphi portal viewers. We already are receiving some questions. we had an interesting question from Tadas. He asks about what Lithuanian startups are best known in the United States and European markets. I think we'll get the chance to answer it during our panel discussion. It's one of the topics of a panel discussion is a birthplace of a startup. So I think we'll have a chance to discuss and Lithuanian brands, startup brands, which might be known or maybe not so well known to our foreign experts. And now let's move on to the second case. As you remember, we have been speaking about business born out of frustration. Well, there are also other emotions. There are also accidents when business can happen just by accident or let me just give you an example, okay? Yeah, we had an accident here, right? Okay, here, yeah, some ghosts. But then again, let's think about it. How many of you just noticed that the brand of the company is running here, yeah? I think, no, we've looked here, we've looked here, we've looked here. Yes, thank you. And then, yeah, it's a Samsung, yeah. So I think they did it not on accident. They did it on purpose to strengthen the advertising here. So we're gonna hide them later on. Okay, but business by accident. Business is fun, says our next presenter. How to package your enterprise and make it presentable and interesting to foreign investors. And what do you do when you become profitable really, really fast? What should you do with your profit? Maybe you can buy a car, or maybe you can buy 2 cars, or maybe you can do with your profits what Mr. Anatolijus Faktorovičius, the partner of venture capital company Practical Capital, did with his profits. And he will present Viltechmeda's story. Please welcome Mr. Faktorovičius.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to the conference. I'm sorry for my English, for a start, but it helped me to sell our pumps in 90 countries. And I hope it will be understandable for you too. Why I am here? Because of success of Viltechmeda, because of success story. I created Viltechmeda with 3 partners in 1993. After 15 years, we sold Viltechmeda to the strategic investor, company Moog International. This is $3 billion high-tech company from United States. Till 2011, I worked like a managing director for Viltechmeda, for Moog. Now I am partner of Practical Capital. We are managing 20 million euro and invest in startups and expansion stage from 20,000 euro to 2 million euros. I could talk a lot about Viltechmeda and its history. However, I will try to be brief in my presentation. I am sure that Viltechmeda is not a unique experience. We have a lot of companies like Viltechmeda in Lithuania. It taken into account currently available help of venture capital funds and government support. Today is much easier, in my opinion, to repeat and multiply this experience. What is Viltechmeda? Viltechmeda is high-tech medical device company. Our company developed and produced syringe pumps. This is equipment intended for precision drug administration. What is the equipment? This is mechatronic medical equipment managed by quite sophisticated software. Viltechmeda have all needed certificate to be global active. Our company have ISO standard, all our products have CE marked, and some of them have FDA approval to be active in the United States market. So you see in 2008, we produced 10 model of pumps. Part of them work in general wards, part of pumps work for anesthesia. We have a neonatal pumps, we have pumps for pain control. So you see, we was a top 7 globe player. Now is more than 50 companies worldwide produce infusion pumps. And we was one of the 7 best in the world. Now you see one of our produced pumps. These pumps we customized for Baxter need and distributed globally with Baxter logo worldwide. Baxter is a $20 billion United States medical device company. This is our newest pumps model, ITEX 2017, was designed by Moog requirements for United States markets. This is intensive care units in Santariškių University Hospital in Vilnius. Till 24 pumps can simultaneously deliver drug to the patient. A little bit about finance. You can see some nice things. We start to produce pump in 93 and 95 we produced first 500 pieces, and 2012 it was 10,000 pumps annually. You see some crisis. In 2009, 2011, we decreased our production for 20%. Our EBITDA is always increased, and the big step was in 2004, because in this year we sold our disposable products business and concentrated and focused on our core business only. Our core business and design and produce pumps. Some milestones of our company, like Andrew says, is accidentally. Some of you can remember 92. It was no hot water, no petrol, a lot of additional problem in our country. I placed it in announcement in newspaper that we are looking for a partner. This was in 1992, and I got only one phone call from one Italian guy. He was accidentally in Lithuania. And we created a joint venture in 3 months. And in finish of 92, we start to produce disposable products. Catheters, infusion set, extension line, and so on. In 1993, Italian partner proposed out to design and produce infusion pumps, taking into account engineering experience of our team. We created Viltechmeda in 1993. Italian partner bring for us not only ideas and money, but he bring us new mentality, knowledge, and contact investor markets. We grow, and first 1,000 pounds we sold in 1997. To be active in European market, we need to have ISO standard and CE mark all our products. In the process of CE market, we learned a lot. To fulfill CE market requirements, if Paul passed all testing, we had to improve and change a lot of technical solutions. In fact, we started CE market with one product, and after 9 months, finished with totally different. Only the model name remains the same. Later on, taking into account our experience, we spent for CE market 2-3 months. In 2000, we changed our brand name Soveta to ITEX. Soveta is a quite strange name, but this is the name of 3 Italian partners, Soverini, Vetter, and Tajaguti. This quote, this name was acceptable until 2000, but later on, a lot of our distributors said that Soveta sound like Soviet Union and associated with a bad quality. And we have to change this name. This is not so simple. We spent more than half a year to find nice name, ITEX. ATEX is advanced infusion technology. And from year 2000, all our distributors know us like ATEX. And Viltechmeda leave only like part of our address. Hanseatic capital invest in our company. From this time, we clearly understand that we not only produce and design products, that our company is a product. And from this time, top manager spent much more time to improve profitability, to analyze and improve technology and process instead of optimizing taxes like do a lot of companies. Two 2000 is very nice year. Company Baxter coming to Vilnius. This was the second after CE marking huge step to improve our products and team experience. Baxter is one of the biggest medical company in the world. They are more than $20 billion company. We customized our pumps to the Baxter need. Working together with Baxter Europe team of engineers, marketing professional, patent lawyer, we understood what is real risk analysis, safety programming and design, testing of pumps, patent clearance. Instead of estimated 3 months, we spent more than 1 year to fulfill Baxter requirements. Our engineer implemented new software design and testing procedure, changed a lot of technical decisions, increased safety of pump, and eliminate possible patent clearance risk. From year 2000, we start to place on all our catalogs word safety and reliability instead of quality. Quality is not any competitive advantages. Starting serial production of new pumps, we really became EuroLeague level pump design and production company. But only after 10 years, we reached the NBA league when we designed pumps by Moog requirements for United States markets. You see, in 2008, in the market was more than 40,000 our pumps. The annual production increased till 8,000 pieces. Shortly about business model. We have a local R&D, and this is the biggest our advantages. The crucial point, in my opinion, for experienced team to design successful products is the right technical requirements. Team leader have to feel at least 10 years perspective, because 2-3 years you design pumps and 7 years is a pump life cycle. Global outsourcing. We outsourcing everything what was possible. We bought electronic components from United States, from Taiwan, from China. We bought plastic parts from Germany. We bought and produced mold in Lithuania, Belarus, China. We bought power supply in Korea. A lot of things we do. And this helps us to decrease our cost price and be competitive. But in spite of this, we organize final assembling and testing in our country, because this guarantees us safety and quality of final products. Starting from 2006, we sold our pumps in more than 90 countries. And as you see, quite well diversified. 30% in post-communist country, 30% in Europe, and 30% in the rest of the world. We sold our pumps only via distributor. To end user, we sold our products only in Lithuania. We was quite flexible. We assembled our pumps in Brazil because in Brazil we have a huge import taxes. It was no chance to buy directly from Lithuania. We assembled our products in India because it was only a way to decrease our price and be compatible in India market. We produce our pumps with private label for Spanish, Israeli, Italian company, for Korea, for Germany, and for Baxter, which distribute our pumps worldwide. But we do not only for another company, a company from Korea produced for us products, and we organized final testing of this and sold successfully worldwide. This is another kind of, not syringe, but infusion pumps. Why we are successful? We haven't any business plan. Start of business was by pure accident, as you remember, is announcement in newspaper. The most serious thing of success is excellent team. We have an engineer with multi-year experience from local computer plant Sigma in Vilnius. We bring every 2 years a new significant improved model of pumps to the market. We have a lot of know-how, part of them was patented. Very fast we become profitable, but 10 years we reinvested 100% of our profit in new design, in new testing equipment, later on a new facility. As you remember, we said that we outsourced everything was possible to buy. Is maybe one of the most serious things is a 5F, and the last one. It was fast, flexible, focused, fair, and all of these 4 is nothing if you're not working for fun. And we are working for fun. Is this one of our success? This is some like old guy. We interested to speak something more. What I understand that never say to another guy that he is wrong. You only have another opinion. It's really not one true. Everyone has his own, and this was very helpful to analyze new model. As I was young team leader, I always said, it's my idea, guys. Later on, I understand that it's not mine, it's our idea. And the end of my activity in Viltechmeda, I said, this is team idea, this is your idea. And this was helpful too. K-employees option is really work. But you have to have a trust in company and like your people and like your company. And I forget to write here, you must work for fun. Forget it. And what is more serious for young people, for startups, my opinion, the team behind idea is 100 times more serious the idea. We have invested in a lot of startups, and during 1, 2, 3, 6 months, idea can change if we have good team behind this idea. I came in Lithuania after finishing university in St. Petersburg. All what I have now, I have got in Lithuania. And I'd like to return my debt to our country. My opinion, investment fund is the best way to do it. As I said in the start, I am partner of Practica Capital. We manage 20 million euro fund. We invested in startups and have now more than 15 investment in very short time and have 50 million euro invested to venture capital. We invite young people to us. We interested to discuss with you. I offer you some nice things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and also a few questions from my part. One thing I noticed in your presentation, in year 2000, you told us that you understood that your company is the product. How did you come to realize such thing?
To understand that company is a product, you must change your mentality. Your company is anymore your child. This is product. Change mentality, not only you, your company, your management. Investment fund, if he invests in a company, there's very nice things for a company, very nice thing for a country. Companies start to be clear. All management interested to increase profit, not to decrease taxes. You spend much more time for this, for clearance your activity.
So basically, when you understood that, you understood also another fact that you're going to sell the company in immediate future or in 8 years, right? And
Yes.
you decided to work on finding the perfect buyers.
Yeah,
Is that
correct.
correct? What could you advise for young guys, for startups who still feel that the idea is part of their body, like you know, an arm on a leg, and they are a little bit afraid of having venture capitals, guys with experience, to become part of that idea?
Some people really afraid of venture capital. This is not true. I work with venture capital more than 10 years. Venture capital is not interested to trouble you. In ideal situation, we're interested to visit company time a quarter or time a year. You enjoy success. We only interested to help if we will have some problem to find another money. But our interest and interest of company is totally the same. If you decide that your company is product, we only interested to help you to increase value of this company, find the way to increase this value, to help you to pack your company like a product and increase price as much as possible. We're not interested to trouble you because you are professional. We only help you to find the right way.
What are you looking for in practical capital? What are the main points that you look when applicants come to you?
First of all, we're looking for a team.
IT.
For a team.
For a team.
For a team.
Okay.
If you have a strong team behind ideas, this is very nice. Obviously, we understand that more simple to invest in IT company because to invest in company like Viltechmeda, we have to wait results, waiting for results 10, 15 years. IT company can grow immediately, 1, 2, 3 years, and you can grow drastically.
Yeah.
For this reason, more than 80% of our investment in IT companies and IT ideas.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was Mr. Anatolijus Faktorovičius, our second presenter. Now let's move on with our case studies. And you know, every young person strives to break some kind of record, you know, to be the first person to achieve something, especially in business, even if that something is the situation that in Lithuania still might have some amount of, I don't know, I'd say a stigma maybe. For some people in our country, this situation is almost the end of the world. And for the rest of the world is a valuable lesson and opportunity. Our next speaker, Mr. Augustinas Alešiūnas, has had 3 such lessons in his life, and he might be a Lithuanian to break a record of having 3 bankruptcies in quite a young age. However, this does not stop him from creating and making another shot. And now he received a couple of prestigious awards as an entrepreneur, and he does not intend to stop. This year he presented Worldwide Innovation, Paris, personal e-nose for food quality detection, raised more than €1 million in half a year for his products. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Augustinas Alešiūnas.
Very interesting promotion of myself, you know. Brangus svečiai, sveiki atvykę, dear honorable foreign guests, welcome. It's a pleasure and great honor for me being here with you. First of all, I would like to say sorry for my terrible accent, and that's why I would like to start my presentation with a short video, which is going to present the main topic about what I'm going to talk further. So if you allow, it should just start like that.
Those who buy 1 kilo of pork tenderloin will give an extra only for €9.99. Have you ever thought what food you buy and eat every day? Are you sure that your product is fresh, even if it's packed? Is the product from the market as good as the one you get in a grocery store? Are you sure that buying a product which is almost expired will be sound and suitable for consumption? Are all kinds of food of high quality, safe and nutritious? To what extent are the products treated with chemical substances? The new era of scents. We'd like to introduce you Perez, the first electronic nose in the world that helps you determine the quality of meat, poultry and fish. It also helps to determine whether these products are sound and suitable to use. It's a device that helps everyone who cares about the nutrition of themselves and their loved ones to quickly evaluate the food they're going to eat themselves or offer their family or guests. After the collaboration between ARS Lab and scientists, which took more than a year, the working prototype has become a finished product. Today, the electronic nose is not only a dream and the answer to many everyday questions of a consumer, it's also a small, beautiful device which is equipped with sensor array and uses Bluetooth technology to transfer data. The goal for the electronic nose Perez is to help you determine whether the meat, poultry or fish products that you want to consume are of high quality and safe. Perez smells the organic compounds of carbohydrates and nitrogen which decompose during the process when food goes bad and, using many algorithms, identifies the level of safety of the product. For example, whether the product is fresh or dangerous to consume, how many dangerous chemical elements and toxic substances the product has. Ergonomics. The electronic nose is designed in such a way so that it's easy to hold in your hands. The sensors in the device body are apart from each other in an optimal distance. They don't react to the heat and optimally read the chemical elements to be measured. Perez transmits data to a smartphone where the software analyzes the received results and presents them to the user in a clear, understandable and simple way. What's more, Perez allows you to see not only the smell and identify parameters in your mobile phone, but also to share your experience, opinion and information with your friends on social networks. You don't need any special skills or knowledge if you want to use this electronic nose. Perez uses a simple and user-friendly application which is clear for every user. The electronic nose is of optimal size and can be connected to smart devices. This compact and easy-to-use device helps to identify whether the meat, poultry or fish product is suitable and safe to use, helps to determine whether it doesn't have any substances dangerous to your health or even life. This reduces the risk of food poisoning. Moreover, the electronic nose Perez helps to evaluate the nutrients in a product. The sensors that are equipped in the noise function as temperature and air humidity meter. In comparison with other industrial equipment, the electronic nose Perez is 100 times cheaper and 10 times smaller. You can be one of the first 1,000 people in the world who get to buy the electronic nose Perez. www.getperez.com. Welcome to a safe world.
So welcome today to this conference, actually. Let me check how to open my presentation. Can someone help me because it's somewhere else? So this is the Perez. I hope that you got the point in general. And today I would like to talk a little bit more about the process which we were gone through and the history, because we started to doing this project, and the startup was created 1 year ago. So during 1 year, we already have a product, and we are starting to make a mass production and to ship it all over the world. So my presentation says that we need to wait for a couple of minutes. I hope that it's not true. Okay, super, perfect. One more time, sorry my English is not perfect, but a couple of words about me. One more time, my name is Augustinas Alešiūnas. Generally, I'm the president of a cluster which calls Smart IT Cluster. And this is the biggest cluster in the Baltics, which develops all kinds of innovative and IT solutions for agricultural and food industries. So this is in general. I also have some experience on raising funds right now in the local level, but we are starting to go global and to start working with different venture capital funds from Western Europe and USA. Yeah, and I have a colleague, journalist, said that I had 3 failures, but I also have 3 success stories. So, it's 50-50. Like, so that's about me. And now let's jump to the Peres, to the product, what I'm going to talk. First of all, the market demand. I eat, you eat, we actually all eat. So, okay, at this time, the vegetarians is not our market because we do not scent, and smell vegetables. But all in all, each of us every day buys some kind of foods in the market or in the supermarket and use them. And I would like to do a very quick survey about that. Can you raise hands, all of you, who was at least one time in your life get sick after eating any kind of meal or just felt bad? One time in their life. Okay, it's like 70% of all the auditory. One quick example. 3 days ago, me and my wife were, because I'm from Vilnius, it's the capital of Lithuania, we went okay, for Lithuanian it's clear enough. Yeah, so we went to a nice restaurant, one of the best restaurants in Vilnius, just to have a dinner. And I don't know why we decided to eat like a mix of different carpaccio. It was like a beef, salmon, something else, maybe some game meat. After that, the result appeared very fast. Now my wife is at the hospital for 2 days. I don't know, she gets sick, and now she's going to spend 5 more days, something like that, because I just talked before the conference, and she said that doctors just won't allow her to go to home. So it's, just regular, simple dinner, and, after that, it might occur with a lot of problems. So I believe that it's common with any one of us. And some statistics, I just gathered a little bit more information from the United States, because they talk the most about the food and the sickness, so it's much more easier than to compare to Europe. But 1 of 4 American guys get sick and suffer from the food. 78 million of people every year have foodborne illness. So it's quite big numbers, actually. And it's quite a big problem, and I believe that if we will take like Europe region, it will be something the same. I'm not talking about the Asia or Africa and et cetera, et cetera. And this is like a top chart for the highest risk food. You can see that meat, beef, to be precise, poultry, and seafood are in top 7. And we are working with meat, poultry, and fish, like seafood products. And our Peres can detect the level of freshness for them. So it's quite big. Now, the other question is how many people can pay to avoid to get sick? And we did some kind of calculation, and the numbers appeared really extremely interesting. The statistic shows that about 24% of the people are using smartphones, so it gives like 280 million people. Let's say that part of them are in that age group that can buy and be interested in buying such kind of product. So we have plus minus 140, 150 million of people. And let's convert that to the amount of money. If we say that person can invest from $50 to $100 to avoid possible sickness, which can occur by eating raw food or dangerous food. So we are having like 14 billion market, which is ready to pay money right now. And this is the market in what we have interest, and we are going there. So the market, it's interesting, at least for us. Now, a couple of phases in which we are going through. The first phase, it was in 2012. And we did a lot of statistics. I personally just raised the question, is it possible to help to make a prevention of sickness from the food? And we, my partners, we said yes to ourselves, but we didn't have a clue how to do that. This was the main problem. Then we tried to do like a case study, and we analyzed different kind of sensors. I'm not going to talk about technical information, but there are in the world infrared sensors, which are great. They work precisely, but it's in lab conditions, so no, because we wanted to go to the masses, Metal oxide sensors. 1 year ago, it was cheap, it was super. You can put it in all kinds of devices, but it consumed a lot of power. So we were thinking, and had some doubts. Then organic coated sensors, it's also, degrading and a little bit more like lab, because we did a lot of research and experiments with practically each of them. Electrochemical sensors, short shelf life, so it's also, for the masses to reship every time, it's a little bit risky. And colorimetric sensors, which are good. You can integrate in the package of the meat, of the fish, but we had an idea to make a device and an app, so it would be like mobile, so this technology just weren't for us. That's it, it's simple. And we came to conclusions that we are going to use metal oxide semiconductors. Till now we are working with that. But the problem appeared that we were working with a scientist group. It's not Kaunas Technology University. It was a different university, which said that your idea is super, it's perfect, it's interesting, but give us like 2 years, give a couple of million €, and we'll do a lot of research, interesting research, and then we'll say whether it's possible to do that or no. But when you are putting your own money, 2 mil, 2 years, it's not like very trustful in general. And the second thing that even European Commission, 2 times we prepared applications to receive like European funds, said no, said it's impossible, you just cannot do that, it's a bullshit. I'm sorry, it's life, so I need to remember that. After that, we made the conclusion that if nobody believes or it's too expensive and they don't know if they are going to achieve the result, you need to sell it to yourself. So in 2012, we created a company, a startup, exactly for this project, and the first investors was business angels. One of them is I, and business angel fund. So we are also working with venture capital in Lithuania. They already exceeded their limits, so we are trying to decide what to do with them. But it's a different question already. So later on, we changed like scientist team, and really big, huge thank to Kaunas Technology University, because you were the part of the situation which we have now, because if not the Kaunas Technology University, I believe that I wouldn't make to stand here today. So many thanks. We did a lot of R&D activities in chemistry, physics, and engineering sectors, Also, our company's IT department started to develop engine and prototyping the software for mobile devices, which is completely right now working. Not to forget, we have a stand there in the exhibition, so during the lunch or coffee break, you can go to check how the Paris works. We have beautiful assistants, so they will, or you can talk with beautiful assistants, whatever you like, so it's your question. Yeah, but you can go there, so to see it live, how does it work. So, and after that, we already had some kind of prototypes, and we jumped in the phase 3, which started during the ICT 2013, which took a place in Vilnius, and I believe you know that it's the biggest ICT event in the European Union. How many of you were in the ICT? Like, okay, 7%, super. I like the survey before, it was like mass crowd of hands. Anyway, our stand got the most attention in all the exhibition, and the first Paris electronic nose was, I gave personally to Her Excellency President of Lithuania. The second Paris was given to President of Estonia, and the third one was given to the Mayor of Vilnius, Artūras Zuokas. So it's like, governmental noses right now is working, and we would like to start to sell them for normal people, regular. Regular, not normal. They are normal as well. Yeah, sorry, live, I forget second time. So this is how it works, some kind of screenshots. This is the president of Lithuania, who doesn't know still now. And yeah, so the ICT. Now we already launched the pre-ordering campaign, so I mean that every one of you, please do that, can book it and buy it directly online at getperes.com. This is our brand and the main website. Also, you can reach us at Facebook, Twitter, and etc., etc. Now, about now. We are finishing commercialization, trying to determine the final shapes, certificates to be able to ship it officially and normally. And we are hoping to get like 5,000 people of pre-orders to the start of next year. And we are starting, I believe, to ship that in January, maybe February. So this is the present, what we are doing, and we are finishing the commercialization process. Now, the future, this is my personal work for the next year. Try to imagine that if you like the topic of noses, try to imagine that you have only one device in which there are plenty of different kind of sensors. 40, 50, 100, doesn't matter, because they are based on nanotechnologies. So they like a Samsung free advertisement. Yeah, okay. So we have only one thing left, so it will be fast. Yeah, so one device with a lot of different sensors and only different apps. So you buy one device, you download app whatever you like, and you control the device by saying which sensors you want to use and what kind of smell you want to detect. So the biggest KPI for today is not to develop like 10 e-noses for different kind of smells, but to develop unique device and to just prepare different kind of apps. Now about the examples, I don't know if you already wake up and you are ready to communicate with me, but maybe some of you could say what would you like to smell with the device? What kind of scent? Can anybody say that? Yes.
Yeah, I understand that you can smell the dimethylamine, which for fish, but how can you smell carbohydrate, which is not volatile? I do not trust it.
If you do not trust, I believe that you have a colleague in right of you, the Kaunas Technology University, they will explain that. And we can give a discuss, yeah. Guys, we're paying money for you, not otherwise, So.
Because carbohydrates are glucose, galactose, lactose, and so on. You cannot smell it.
We smell amino acids and volatile organic compounds in general.
But it's not in carbohydrate like you indicated on the screen.
Maybe, when the presentation was done, they took like a screenshots from apps with different kind of words. But later on, just check live, because you can do that by yourself. So maybe about the word, I'm sorry that. Now about the sense and about what can you smell. You can calibrate even the nose for your husband, for example. I'm talking with the ladies right now, even with the men. And you can show for the nose how your husband smells and how smells your perfume. So whenever he comes after late working hours at home and he has rough day, I'm able to talk with you, go to bed with you, I'm going to sleep. You just take your nose, and I don't need to explain you further about that. Yeah. So this is one, but you see there is a smile. We actually can do that, but we are not going to do that because I believe a lot of men can have difficulties in usual life, and I would be shot at, in like 1 week. So no. The second thing is lying detector. Right now, you connect a lot of stuff to your body, but it's already possible, to cheat the lie detector. And if you're using the smells and all kind of pheromones and so on, which your body spreads out, you can make much more accurate nose for detection of lie. So this is also one more thing, but it's a little bit dangerous, we thought. So we are not going in that. In what we are going to is, first of all, personal drug test, because when you breathe and spread all kinds of different molecules, we can identify using electronic nose, not just like where you're using a drug or not, but what kind of drug it was, like heroin, cocaine, and so on and so on. And it's much more precise than the blood test, because blood test cannot give you results about all the drugs in the world. And the market, the usage is whatever, like family, moms for the children, for the school children, for the students, at your workplace, military, which are military forces who are working nearby the borders with such countries like Turkmenistan, Iran, Afghanistan. I have been there not like 1 month ago, so it's quite a problem. So the market is huge. The first thing on what we are working. The second thing is to detect the human being and to prepare the solution to avoid like a lot of funny and cool Chinese and Vietnamese guys coming to European Union and USA. This sounds funny, but it's not, because the illegal immigration problem is huge. And it's a governmental thing. I already talked about that with the European Commission, with the heads of the European Commission, and I say, yeah, if you do that, we are going to buy it for sure. So it's also. And the third thing, which I believe I prefer the most, is like a device, one more time for women. I'm just, I love females. So it's an e-nose which detects different like pheromones, and you can know when you have the days when there is a most possibility to get pregnant, and when you have like a safe days for parties, nightclubs, and etc., for holidays, So according to my knowledge, I'm not a woman, obvious, so maybe I'm not know everything, but I believe that right now over the world, the best way is to like put some kind of notes on the calendar or something like that to know the days. So I believe that this is going to change dramatically all the market. And the market is all women in the world. So it's big. So now we are working on these 3 different projects, or let's say topics, or sense, whatever you like. And that's it. We are thinking that scents are going to change everyone's life to a better, way. And we want to put our hand on that. So welcome to a safer world one more time. Thank you for the patience, because I think that I spent a lot of time staying here. And for the end, I just wanted to say that sometimes we fall, as everyone do, but in general we are flying up. This is me somewhere in the world, I don't remember where, and So thank you very much. Good conference, and I hope to have like a different discussions and talks with every one of you. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Augustas. Please stay a minute with me, and maybe let's check the audience. Maybe this is a really cool and interesting concept of a product. Maybe anyone have questions for Augustas? Yes. Just a second, we're gonna bring the mic to you. Okay, so go on.
I'm just interested, how much does one Paris unit cost?
It's already in pre-order, and it costs 129 euros. Yeah, and if you buy it, you receive like a free apron, to wear in the kitchen when you are doing steaks and so on. So just check our website. It's everything there, even the movie.
And afterwards, will be the same price for men and women, or you're going to different prices?
For a woman, definitely it will be expensive.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Anyone else?
May I ask
Yes,
you?
please. And then.
Thank you for saving our lives. By the way, have you checked the possibility to embed it in space technologies, in specific devices flying to asteroids, planets, and blah, blah, blah?
According to blah, 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 I don't know, but according to space technologies, actually we didn't thought about it yet. I received a lot of questions, are we going to embed it in cell phones, in smartphones, But it's a matter of discussion with the huge corporations like Samsung, Apple, and whatever. So it will definitely not be in 3 or 4 or 5 months. But the future in general, if we are talking all the articles about the forecast and predictions, so all kind of different sensors will be in our smartphones, in the handhelds, in the laptops, and so on.
Okay, Mr. Lashes, yeah. I think. Oh. Vladai, you wanted to ask a question.
How much is the
Yes.
what is the situation with the market? How much it is disruptive? What is the status on the competition on the market?
Okay.
How fast you need to move on to get all the stake?
Thank you. We need to move really fast because, you know, there are two things. First of all, till now, like for 20 years, people are working with electronic noses, but in the laboratories or in the industrial sector. So they are huge, they are expensive, they cost like 5K euro and up. They are really precise, and it works super. Personal electronic nose, according to our knowledge, to all the research market, you know, and so on actions, this is the really first one worldwide. But the main thing is that it's a little bit more like management innovation, not technology-based innovation. So we need to move really, really fast because the Chinese guys will jump in the train like in 6 months. And when we were in the ICT, a lot of Korean and Chinese people, you know, were coming and taking the photos. So I decided maybe to take all the cameras from them, not to steal. Yeah, but in general, we need to move very fast.
Okay. Mr. Director?
Augustus, thank you. You are brilliant in marketing, and you presented all to top leaders of Baltic states, but you nothing told us about turnover. What's the situation of last year?
About turnover, so as I said that we presented, you know, this thing, the Paris, to the market like 1 week and a half, and we started to do pre-ordering campaigns, so turnover is 0. We invested like a little bit more than 1 million euro.
How many pre-orders up to date?
It's a good question. Up to date right now, I believe that in the conference it will be up and up, but it's like it's like 350, 400, but we didn't start marketing campaign. So it's like local in the ICT, and we weren't promoting, you know, especially pre-ordering. And the media in Lithuania, for which we didn't pay. And the marketing campaign in the Western Europe and United States is going to start in 1 week and a half. So then it will be interesting to see. Because actually no one knows in the world about this. We are trying to, you know, keep it quiet a little bit.
Okay. And one last question from me, Augustus. So let's assume that the Paris breaks out, and there are a lot of people who will be using it. So how do you think it will work? So will be a lot of people in supermarkets walking with devices and checking the meat and poultry and fish. How the markets react in such intrusion of when, you know, the customer right now is just, you know, he pays up and he takes the goods and he goes home.
Yeah, so if it's allowed, so you can do, you know, a check in the supermarket. You can do it at home, or definitely you can do it in the market because it's for sure allowed. But about the supermarkets and those huge companies, I believe that there will be a lot of issues because even during the ICT, some guys from, you know, I'm not going to tell the names, but from Lithuanian like companies in the store business came and, you know, without any kind of smile, and they were like looking deeply inside that, and they left very sadly the stand. So I don't know why, because we didn't say anything for them, you know. It will be a problem for them.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you know.
Okay. Well, let's see. It will be an interesting problem. Thank you very much, Augustus. Thank you, Augustinas Alešiūnas. Thank you for a really interesting presentation. And now let's move on to our next case. And now we'll speak about things that maybe not everyone is 100% clear what are they doing and what are the gist of the idea. But that's what happens when brilliant people with PhDs in physics go to business. And we'll use one word in this presentation. We're gonna hear this word definitely from them, and this word is from, and another very interesting word which defines the movement from startup to global, from local to global, from fast to very fast, and so on and so on. So why Lithuania? We'll ask our presenter, and he will give you 4 or even more immediate reasons. So these people just received more than $1 million to expand their lab, and they firmly believe that in Lithuania, that's interesting, really interesting thing. In Lithuania, there are more money than good ideas, and it's this really inspiring force for everyone here. Please welcome Mr. Augustinas Vizbaras, and he will present Broliai Semiconductors case. Thank you.
Hello everyone, so I'll try to be brief. I actually have, I think, 10 or 11 slides, so I won't be keeping you up for too long, and I promise I won't focus too much on the technology. So the scope was to give a talk on the case of Broliai Semiconductors. I'll just focus more on that it's possible to convert ideas into reality, into commercialization, into really big investments, right? Okay, so our company, Broliai Semiconductors, is a semiconductor technology company, so it's really a capital investment intensive company. This is our fab. We actually occupy half of that building, and we focus on two business lines. One is what we call the MBE foundry. This is literally just growing special crystals for semiconductor industry, for certain applications in the electronic and optoelectronics. The specialty is the material platform there. And the second business line is what we call our high-end line, is the component development. That's the laser diode itself, and the special part there is the performance of that chip, in particular with regards to the emission wavelength that it emits. So at the moment, we are 9 employees. So to date, we have raised 6.5 million euros, so that's almost $9 million US. So we've now gone over 2 rounds of investments. So the latest one is around $2 million US to invest into additional equipment and lab facilities for our high-end product line, namely the laser diodes. We are also ISO certified, and we are backed by a growth capital fund, Litz Capital. So just a little bit of history about Broliai Semiconductors. So first of all, the name of the company. So Brolis in Lithuanian means brother, because we are 3 brothers who co-founded the company. We sort of co-founded it in 2011. Our dad thinks it happened in 1986. So we are 2 twins, physicists, and then the entrepreneur is Dominykas, who is the elder brother there. And semiconductors is because of the field of semiconductor technology and device manufacturing, right? So this is a high-tech company, so it means the technology has to come from somewhere, and this is up to us, the twins. We are both physicists, so we studied actually in Vilnius, in Sweden, and then in Munich. So we have, I would say, international experience, and with globally competitive results. So the idea of setting up the company was literally based during our PhD period in Munich, when we were extremely successful, extremely productive. We've managed to develop certain technological ideas that actually led to a breakthrough in the, let's say, niche scientific markets in the fields where we were working on. So we are just, a spin-off from the TU München, and we are 2 local guys with global experience. And just, if you look at our story, it seems that this is just a typical disaster for Lithuania, because, you have people who are smart, who are willing to learn, and then they go abroad, right? So this is the brain drain. However, I would say that this is the chance to use the opportunities that are available right now in Lithuania that were not available, let's say, 10 or 15 years ago. So really to use the chance to gain global experience, to learn from the best, and to try to gather that experience that is not available in here. So then, when we kind of decided to set up a company, so in 2011, we just registered the company name in Lithuania, just because back then we were on holidays back home. Nevertheless, we were pursuing, I think, at least 3 different cases. That means to set up in US, to set up in Germany, and then Ireland. So we're literally looking for money, looking for investments. It wasn't really the best time because it was August, so it was the holiday season. And in fact, it moved fastest in Lithuania. And in November, we already had a term sheet with the growth capital fund, Litz Capital. And it took 2 months to get all the legal actions in place. And then what I call is here is that we changed from brain drain to brain circulation, by signing an investment agreement with Lit Capital, which literally meant that we will set up here in Vilnius, in Lithuania. And from that moment on, we started building up our facilities because we needed to keep the key technologies in-house. So what I say, we spent around 6 months for the investment. That's fast. And then it took us another 9 months to open the facility, which was built from scratch. At that time, we were 6 employees. And along the way, we got additional 2.5 million euros grants from EU, which is another big factor, an important factor in Lithuania for the setting up business environment at the moment. So it was 9 months to build up the fab. And then already in March, we produced our first pilot devices. So this is another 3 months. So I would say this is ultra fast. And right now, what happened since our first chips, we have reached the state-of-the-art level. So we've improved. This is just graphs of our chip performance. So I can maybe, if you find it difficult to trace the graphs, I can say that we improved from 0.5% chip efficiency to 25.6%. This is state-of-the-art. This is even actually at least a little bit better than what the competitors have in the global market. There is no local market for us. And we are now at the watt level, and we have the lowest input powers for our chips. That means our chips consume extremely low electrical power. So they can be used for battery, handheld applications that involve long battery lifetimes and so on. So these are really advanced chips that I absolutely dare to say they are at the moment probably beyond state of the art and one of the best chips in the world in this wavelength range. So the goal and the idea to why we needed so much money for the start is to keep the key know-how and the key technologies in-house. And some of our key technologies and key know-how lies with the technology of crystal growth and the design of these laser diodes. So of course, the design is always in our heads, but the crystal growth, we need special equipment to do that, and this is the so-called molecular beam epitaxy reactor. So it's a sophisticated tool, but it's not a unique tool. So I don't know, somehow we are mistaken in Lithuania by press that this is something unique. This is not unique, this is industry standard. It's our goal to demonstrate that our technology can be turned into a product. That means it can be reliably produced with industrial machines. And only in this way we can enter the market. I mean, nobody cares about unique machines and unique chips in the lab. If you want to enter the market, you have to really demonstrate that your technology is capable of that. It's reliable, you have reproducible results, reproducible chips, and you can actually have low cost per chip. So this is important. And that's what we are doing. So here it's myself and one of the engineers. We are holding our 3-inch process laser diode wafer. So one such wafer can fit up to 10,000 of laser chips. So this is the largest gallium antimonide platform in terms of substrate size in the world, because this is a new material. So we are not talking about silicon wafers, which are this big. So 3 inches is big for gallium antimonide because there are no larger industrial substrates available. But utilizing this type of technology, we are able at the moment to at least potentially offer the lowest cost per chip. Doesn't matter where we go, be it large area devices for high power applications or just gas sensing, so DFB laser diodes. So this is what we are working on, and right now, since this is like an industrial R&D period, we have benchmarked the technology, and right now we are working on the yield. So so far the results are extremely promising, and I would say we are very confident of our technology. And just to understand what are the typical numbers for a semiconductor technology and for a new product to enter the market. So really, I mean, if it's a really new product, then you have to work from a concept to a pilot product. Then you have to turn this pilot product to a product that's ready for the market. And all this together takes at least 3 years, because you have to benchmark so many things like reliability, which right now the industry standards for our laser diodes is at least 10,000 hours. So just 1.5 years just for aging, right? So you have to live at least for 1.5 years. Our company is operational for less than 1 year. And then you have to demonstrate that your yield will be good, because, I mean, it's really the yield question, whether how many of these chips from that wafer you can sell. So if your yield is 50%, maybe you will be not profitable. So this is the technological and a lot of engineering homework that you have to do in there. And Brolis is at the moment somewhere in between. In the lab, we already have lifetimes over 10,000 hours. We have a yield of around 70%. And we probably today are able to offer the market, if there is a demand, a chip which could cost in the range of $10 to $20. So this is already extremely interesting for mass applications for industrial gas sensing systems. So one typical applications would be that tunable diode laser spectroscopic systems that would include one of our laser chips would go into a, let's say, standard ventilation systems for so-called smart control of the CO2 levels in the environments, in the rooms. And so according to Siemens guys, this could save up to 30% of energy. That's a big number. That's a huge number if you think about the market. So actually, this is the market for our chips. Oh, no. So, and then why Lithuania? So I would not really strictly define Lithuania. I'm always thinking about European Union, because this is a single economic zone, and it actually offers a lot of advantages inside the region. So right now in Lithuania, we really have an excellent climate for setting up business. And this was indicated by the doing business analysis. So we are now 17th place worldwide. And I believe it is a good indication because, I mean, just from our own experience, for us it was a surprise how easy it is to set up business here. Then you have a lot of funds available. What also Mr. Faktorovičius was saying from Practica Capital, I mean, there are also Lit Capital and other funds, also business angels available in here. I mean, at the moment, we have really much more money than ideas. I mean, these guys are desperately looking where to invest, but I believe the ideas are yet not as good. So I mean, and at the same time, you have really low competition for fundraising for the same reason. What this means that it was also happened to us. So we applied to let's say, seed venture capital fund in Germany, and they said, oh, now it's the holiday season. Look, it's going to be this startup event in October, and it was August. So maybe just fill in this form and come in October, we're going to talk. Okay, but for me, this period of 3 or 4 months was a lifetime. I mean, we managed to reach a term sheet in that period. And that's because in Lithuania, when we came here, in fact, there were no lines. The counter was open, and the guy was looking, who's going to come, right? So this is the advantage of low competition. That means that you can raise money extremely fast. But that doesn't mean that these investors are, less smart than the guys over there. I mean, everyone who's in control of the money of the funds, they are extremely experienced financial people who know how to invest. It's just that you really have a extremely fast access to the capital funds and to the investors in Lithuania just because of the country size. So this is a big advantage at the moment. And also you have skilled professionals, at least in certain area, where they are more or less competitive, what also the other countries can offer. So this is a big advantage as well, because if you think about high tech, so you will need people who are skilled, right? And so altogether, this allowed us to have an ultra-fast startup development. I mean, we are 11 months operating, and it took us 9 months to build the fab, to launch all the facilities. It's a complex infrastructure. It's clean room environment, semiconductor technology. I mean, and in general, we raised, almost $9 million US. I think this is a lot of cash. And just looking of how we perform, I think we are performing very well. We have an excellent momentum, and we should break even next year. So with this amount of investment, I think this is fast. So, however, there's always a question of also what was mentioned in the first speech, continuity. Also, the government has to understand that some things have to be maintained and have to continue. So if we keep on changing, conditions for business every 4 years, this will not stay for long. So think about it. And then from local to global, it's really, I think, right now, the situation in Lithuania allows to at least slowly change from brain drain to brain circulation. Of course, it's up to people who are away to return, but I also think that it's not only local people who emigrated should return, but maybe we can also attract people from other European countries. Why not? If guys have ideas, and we can offer excellent conditions for investing and excellent business conditions for setting up, why not? I think this is a good opportunity. So we should think global. Yeah. So with this, I'd like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Augustinas. Any questions from the audience? Yes, please, right here. Just wait a second for a microphone to be brought up. All right.
Thank you. A very nice and down-to-earth and intelligent presentation. I wanted to ask that right now you're focusing on infrared technologies.
Yes.
Can this technology be used in all different semiconductor industries? So what's your future? Will you go broader in other processors, etc.?
Well, as I said, I didn't talk a lot about technology, but so we're focusing on infrared, we're focusing on materials, right, that allow making devices for infrared at the moment. This is our focus. And in fact, the application area or application markets are very wide. So we go from medical to defense to gas sensing and industrial. So all these are extremely large markets if you think about it. So we're not talking about sensing just one gas. In that range from roughly 1.8 to 4 microns, you have fundamental absorption of most of the gas species or gas molecules that are available in there. So we talk about all these hydrocarbons, we talk about all these nitrogen oxides and so on and so on and so on. And this goes into all kind of chemical industry, petroleum industry, gas industry. What else? As I said, like CO2 levels, so in ventilation system, this is all interesting. Automotive is also, is that the market that you can target. So I think it has the potential to be a really, mass market in terms of semiconductor technology. Yeah, so like any other usual semiconductor technology. Definitely not as wide as CMOS, because this is not CMOS. And everyone who knows semiconductors, understand that whatever can be done with CMOS will be done with CMOS, if the performance allows, but elsewhere this is has a big potential. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, Augustinas, when you talked in your presentation about the from fast to ultra fast terms, was it also included in your plan? You really planned that we're gonna do this in 1 month and that one in 2 months or did it come as a bit of surprise of this ultra fast
well, you
approach?
mean, I think, really, we were really surprised that we could attract so much money in Lithuania so fast. This was a surprise to us. We did not expect that. But once we attracted the money, I think we were very confident and we definitely knew what we were doing. So the pace that our technology developed, so this was something that we anticipated and we worked very hard on. So, this is also one of the core advantages and core competencies that we saw over our competitors in the world. So we just used our chance, right? So I think this worked out. So I would say we planned it. So.
Did you sleep during that time?
Well, sure. Anyone who works in the startup world or who also got investments, they understand that time is something that you have to dedicate. And if you got already investment, a large size investment, then you have to focus on the business. So definitely this costs a lot of time, but we knew that it will be like that. So.
You mentioned that there are more money than ideas right now. Does it mean that we can see the import of ideas, which would be quite a novelty in Lithuanian market?
Well, I can't answer that, but I would see
just forecast.
I would see an opportunity for that.
Yeah. Okay.
So just if you have a really great idea and if time is something that extremely valuable to commercialize that idea. For instance, this was the case for us because we thought that we saw that the market is very dynamic and it's growing. So we thought every month wasted could, just increase our competition, which was the case. Even in 6 months, when we opened our facility, we realized that there are 3 new companies competing in the same market with us. So, so this shows that wasting time can be really costly and can cost your business. In the end,
and
right?
dangerous.
So if Lithuania can offer such pace for investments, and if you have a good idea, so why not?
Okay. Thank you very much. It was Augustinas Vizbaras. Thank you for your presentation. You might have noticed, again, if we play with words, there are a lot of times when the word fast was mentioned, and fast, intense in the presentation. It must be the buzzwords of this conference. And you will hear it in later and in our later cases, in our discussions as well. Fast business, fast road upwards, fast connections, and fast decisions. This is the story of our last case, Valymo Wireless Company from Finland. Well, when you are fast, you also have some issues. Maybe not all your partnerships will be productive. Maybe not every customer will be happy. But let's hear it from our next presenter. And I would like to welcome Mr. Will Cardwell. 17 years in the Finnish startup sector, 7 years venture capital, 4 years startup entrepreneur, and active business angel. Please welcome.
Thanks. Great to see everybody and be back here again. And thanks to the KTU guys for inviting me. I'm going to try to give a few, sorry, I'm already giving away something. All right. So I'm going to try to give a few lessons learned from a 10-year ride that I went on, from founding investor to CEO to chairman of the board to trade sale of a company called Valinmo Wireless. And this experience really shaped a lot of the way I'm trying to teach young people and help build university spin-outs at Aalto University. And maybe the other small note, I made this title, Lessons Learned from Startup Foundation to Exit, and then I added the paradoxes therein because I think almost all of the challenges we had actually could have potentially been opportunities if we'd handled them the right way. In almost all of the things that kind of helped put us over the top, they could have really made us go the other direction if we hadn't handled them the right way. So I'll talk a bit about that. And as a teaser, I'll show you who this guy is at the end and why I have it in a short video. All right. So Valinmo Wireless was formed in 2000. We considered ourselves a B2B software company, but actually we were B2B to B to B to C, which is already a hint of a bit of a complexity. So we sold to an integrator, who sold to a mobile operator, who sold to banks, who sold to consumers. So not that simple. Over the 10 years, we raised around 6 million euros in venture capital and plus some public grants. We grew to about 30 people, actually 35 people at our maximum, 2.5 million in sales, 75% outside of Finland. And in 2010, we sold the company to the French listed company Gemalto for a good price. Not a grand slam home run by any means, but it was made everybody happy. And today the company is growing very strongly within Gemalto, so it's still a separately held subsidiary. And part of what you're going to see here is we were probably 10 years too early for the market, because today, if we had started this company now, I think the growth rates and other factors would be quite different. All right. So I'm going to show you some things. These are. I was actually CEO of the company from 2004 to 2008. So I'm showing you some of the photos, some of the slides that we had back then in the kind of middle development of the company. And this gives me I feel really bad seeing these, and I'll show you why at the end of the day, how marketing for these kind of things should be done. But basically, we did three things: mobile payments, mobile identity management, and mobile signatures. And what this means is, in general, we had basically an end user who's logging on to some web service like a bank, and you had a phone. We had a bank was either a direct or indirect customer. We had a certificate authority who was kind of checking the trustability of the data coming in. And then we had a mobile operator that was controlling the communications back and forth to the mobile device. So again, I show you this. This is exactly what we used to show, again, was it 8, 9, 10 years ago when we were selling to companies. In my opinion, this is not a very lucid and communicative way of selling it, and I would sell it quite differently today. But the basic, if you think about this, basically, imagine logging onto a web bank, entering your new username, password, getting an encrypted SMS to your phone, entering a 4-digit PIN code, and that enables you to get onto the web. and that basically enabled a much higher solution, or much more secure solution to getting into highly secure web resources. We had a bunch of partners. So, by the way, I'll show you a couple more slides from our development, then talk about a little bit more about why I showed these slides. But we had a big list of partners, and some of them helped us, some of them didn't. I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. We had customers that were both in Finland, in Europe, in Middle East. They were in a bunch of different areas, in kind of game. They may have been in gaming, they may have been in banking, they may have been mobile operators. So we had a bunch of different types of customers. And again, you could start thinking about what kind of challenges this brings to a small company when you have many partners and then many different types of customers. It was a challenge to keep the ship going straight. So I want to show a couple slides. First what held us back, then what put us over the top, and then give you 3 short stories that I think really defined our success at the end of the day. So what held us back, I think the previous presenter, it's good when there's a good supply of capital in the market. This was all done in Finland, or most of the investors. We had some international investors and some Finnish investors. I considered, even though that we raised 6 million euros of venture capital, that we were really undercapitalized most of the time. We could never see more than 6 to 12 months forward in terms of our payroll. So it was not, we were never kind of in a position where we could really plan, do long-term R&D. As I said, paradoxes, this is the way people talk about startup creation now. The lean startup model is that you should actually have limited visibility and work on limited resources. So there is a trade-off. Very complex ecosystem, as you saw, 4 or 5 different partners that had to actually have parts of our solutions in their engine rooms to run it. So it was not just a matter of going to sell to a mobile operator or going to sell to a bank. We had to sell to a bunch of different players. Unpredictable partnerships, it basically means that I think as a startup, you often are looking for partners to help you to do things, to get to the market, to do R&D or whatever. We had a lot of partners. We spent a lot of time in meetings with the partners. And most of those actually didn't bring anything to us. We had 15, 20 partners, really 2 or 3 of them really put us through. And so you always have to look very closely at the kind of cost and benefit from servicing partners. Distressed customers, we realized at the end of the day, the one common, whether we were selling to at the end, use case was a mobile bank or whether it's a gaming system, we always had to sell to a mobile operator. And mobile operators were distressed during that period. All through the 90s, if you recall, there was this 3G licensing fiasco that happened in the late 90s, early 2000s. So basically, mobile operators were nearly broke for much of that time. Very difficult to sell to. Small home market, just like in Lithuania and Finland, we had only 5 million people and only a few major banks, a couple operators, so immediately we're forced to be global. So today we turn that to be actually a positive thing because, back then when we were building the company, we were thinking, okay, we conquer Finland, conquer the Nordics, conquer Europe, conquer the world. I think today it's much more of if we had redone this today, we would have immediately gone global. Uneducated public simply means when we were selling, think about it, in 2000, mobile phone did 2 things. We didn't have smartphones. We could talk and we could text. We were asking them to do something new with it. We were asking them to use it as a security device, a security token. And people didn't really understand how that paradigm would work. The phone is something to talk on, to text with. It's not to use a security device. And then we developed our solutions were technically excellent, but they were fine-tuned for too many customers. So a lot of, we had a core solution, maybe 70%, and then we'd have to customize around that, so it made it very difficult. But interestingly, we did manage to succeed, and I think there's some lessons to learn from this for Lithuania and for other countries. We really leveraged what I call the Finnish diaspora. Actually, our first customers, global customers, were we had significant managers from Finland. So actually, our first one was Vietinaja Telecom in Kuwait, and the CEO was a Finn. And he was friendly to kind of let us in, bought our solution that wasn't quite ready, worked with us for a couple years to get it going, and it turned out to be a success case for both of us. And I feel that most of the Nordics and Baltic countries don't leverage their global networks as much as they could and should. Tremendously strong board. For example, we had the current chairman of Nokia, founder of F-Secure, Risto Siilasmaa, is one of our investors and board members. And several other very strong characters on our board that had global networks. That was a big, important thing. We didn't have a lot of patented technology, but we had 3 patents families, and they turned out to be critical, one of them in particular. So even though it's software, even though there's a lot of debate about, should you patent, should you not patent, what type of a strategy, in my opinion, we had a very light but efficient IP strategy that ended up being a significant part of the value when we sold the company, and also kept competitors out. Reverse learning, I think the flip side of the challenging partnerships we had is we actually learned a lot from one partner, and because we're partnering with competitors, we'd learn from one partner and then do it better with their competitor. So we'd actually learn a lot and perhaps allow another competitor to be more competitive. And then we won a race to a customer marketing budget that I'm going to talk to you about, because I think often when I hear, in particular B2B companies, talking about getting pilot customers and things like this, pilot customers are great, but you can't scale until, in general, you get so important to them that they start spending real money on marketing to their customers. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. Empower networking. So these are actually the second side, or the nexus of the 3 stories I want to tell you here. So as you know, a lot of companies have near-death experiences, and I think pretty much every company does. And we had really 3. The first one happened I was actually chairman of the company in 2001, and we were out of money, and we were going to an investor conference in Calgary. And the conference was like the 8th and 9th and 10th or something of September. And I presented some of these slides, or actually the CEO, because I was chairman, we went together, presented the slides. Nobody was interested. There are tens of investors collectively didn't really give us any attention. They were interested in some other things. We didn't have an exciting story. So we were going to the airport, and as I said, we're nearly out of money. We had about 6 weeks of payroll left. So we were starting to make decisions about how many people we lay off. Should we shut the company down, or should we downsize it? And then we got to the airport, and of course, the September 11th happened. So that morning, the planes flew into the buildings, terrible chaos. We were at the counters, and they closed. All the attendants left, and they came back and said, no planes are going out for the next 3 or 4 days, so find something to do. We were basically broke, so we started calling people. I mean, we could have afforded hotel rooms, but we thought it would be better if we would find somewhere to stay. So we actually had met some investors who weren't interested in us, but they felt sorry for us to take us into their house. And so we stayed at the homes of 2 partners for 3 days, and at the end of that 3-day period, they decided to invest $2 million into us. So literally, if there had been no September 11th, we would have left. We would have had nice friends, but we would have had no money. Because of September 11th, we were able to actually make deep relationships with these people, explain really what we did, because as you can see, our marketing wasn't great. They figured out what we did, and they said, hey, there's something here, we want to invest in it, and they became really among our most loyal investors. So my lesson learned there is sometimes when you hear no in the beginning, you need to keep drilling down until you can actually kind of get people to buy your story by spending time with them. And usually it's a random incident that happens. Second thing was, so fast forward about 6 years, we were in a selling process to what turned out to be our biggest customer, which was Turkcell. And I had just joined Facebook in the summer, 2007 now, and I was sitting in Istanbul. We were constantly having meetings with our future customer, and I saw this update. I had 13 friends. One of them was a senior executive at Ericsson, and he updated his Facebook page that said, enjoying the new locale for email in a hotel, Istanbul. So I said, hey, and I also knew that this was part of the competing bid. There were 2 bids being considered for a big contract at Turkcell. Ericsson was leading one, and our partner, Gemalto, was leading the other. So we were supplying Gemalto, someone else was supplying Ericsson. So I noticed an update from the competing integrator in our bid. So I had just joined, and I was trying to figure out how to do a kind of a direct message. So we ended up having a short chat there, and actually I went down he was in the same hotel. I went down to meet him, and it turned out that they had already been selected as a supplier for this bid. So I was on the losing side. I was talking to the guy who was in charge of the winning side, but he said he was unhappy with his supplier, which is a large US listed company, by the way. And he was unhappy, and he didn't think they could deliver. They had won the deal, and he asked me, would I be willing to jump over to his side? And I was calculating in my head, because we needed this deal, just like the prior one. And so I agreed to jump over with him, and brought it forward, and we got the deal, and it was kind of game-changing. Funny enough, the partner that we left, which was Gemalto, ended up buying us in the end after about 4 years, because they realized how important we were to their value offering. So the message here is, the first message was kind of the making deep relationships. This one is keeping your eyes open at all times of what could happen, because the winners are the ones that are out there and making relationships. And then the last one is you have to win a race. And I said that winning a race to the customer marketing budget was really important for us. So we got this agreement with Turkcell. We implemented it. And for a number of months after they went live with the service, which was basically a security service for web banking, nobody was using it. And we had a room with servers, computer servers back in Finland. The bells weren't ringing, the transactions weren't happening. But then something interesting happened, and I hope this works, because I built it up so much. I'm going to show you a short video that was run by our customer.
Carlos! Buyur abi. Carlos'cum, sana zahmet bir koşu bankaya gidip benim şu işi halleder miydin? Hemen abi. Hadi canım. Bankaya yollamak 40 dakika. Aynı işlemi Garanti.com.tr'den yapmak 1 dakika. Yazık değil mi Carlos'a? Tamamdır abi. Döksün be Carlos. Bir de bir simit kapıp gelsene. Avrupa'nın en iyi seçilen Garanti.com.tr varken yazık değil mi zamanınıza?
So what's amazing about this is actually one night like I said, our servers were dead. One night, the servers started ringing, you know, like transactions started happening, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. And, you know, we were wondering what the hell had happened, because we were, you know, we measured our key performance indicators in kind of thousands or low tens of thousands of transactions. All of a sudden, millions are happening. And what happened, we found later, was that they launched this commercial. And what's instructive about the commercial is it never shows our name. Our company, Valimo Wireless, never shows. They never show a phone. They never show any technology. They just show a guy that's a legend. And this actually won Commercial of the Year in Turkey and a bunch of other awards. And what I realized there was actually what had happened was we had reached the level of being critical to the customer, or actually our customer's customer, and they put a big budget into this, and it actually made our success. And so that's maybe the third lesson here, is that you know, when we think about marketing and selling, you have to be a bit more sophisticated than just thinking about your own, you know, little solution, but think about the bigger picture and how you generate that kind of impact. So anyway, that's my 3 short stories, and I really am happy to speak here, and of course, if there are any questions, happy to listen. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Will.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience?
I think
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep. All right.
Thank
thanks.
you.
Yep.
And now we're going to move on to our next speaker, and just give me a little bit of perspective here. When we hear word name Stanford, we know what is all this about. One of the most prestigious universities in the world, located in Silicon Valley. During the last 60 years, 58 Nobel Prize winners have been associated with the university. 30 living billionaires are the graduates of Stanford. Trustees of the university established Stanford Research Institute, though it's formally separated from the university. SRI is one of the biggest contract research institutes in the world, with its activities ranging from biosciences, artificial intelligence, engineering, nanotechnology, and much, much more. For the owners of the iPhones, here is some trivia. Siri Incorporated was a spin-off company of SRI, and 3 years ago was purchased by Apple. And, well, we all know what the nice lady called Siri can do to your iPhone. By the way, it's only one of their spin-off. Working with venture capitals and investors, SRI launched more than 100 spin-off companies. With that in mind, we have a very special guest in our conference. Vice President and General Manager of SRI International, Mr. Stephen J. Sisinski. He is responsible for international and commercial business development, innovation programs, and corporate strategy. He has unique perspective on entrepreneurial practice, both in the USA and worldwide. And today he will speak about startup-friendly ecosystems. So please welcome Mr. Sisinski.
Thanks, Andreas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
Oh yeah, this one, right here, this one.
Am I on mic? Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and I want to thank Andreas for this very warm welcome. I appreciate that very much. I've had, this is my first trip to Lithuania, and I've been not seeing too much of the country. I've been kept busy by many meetings and events that have been going on, but it's clear there's a lot of excitement and energy around entrepreneurship and innovation in this country, and I'm so happy to see that. I want to thank Kaunas University of Technology for inviting me to speak here today. In particular, Rector Petras and also Vice Rector Asta. You're very kind to invite me here. And I also want to thank the Vice Ministers of Education and the Economy who I've met with this morning and who are dedicating their time here at this conference. It shows the importance that your national government places on entrepreneurship and innovation, and for the mostly younger people, but sometimes older people who are very interested in growing the economy, starting up new things, and changing the world for the better. So to all of you, I also want to thank you for participating in this and giving up your valuable time. I know you have many events that you could be going to, and it's nice to see such a nice audience. I've been invited to speak about startup-friendly ecosystems, and it's a subject that's actually near and dear to my heart, so why don't we get going since I only have a short period of time. The discussion topics today, I will talk just very briefly about SRI, so you have a little bit of background on that. And then I'll jump right into the topic at hand, why are startup-friendly ecosystems so important? I'm going to initiate some very new research that we have done in combination with the World Economic Forum on this particular subject. It's such an important topic that we've just issued this, and you'll be getting some highlights from this. And then we'll talk briefly about learning from Silicon Valley, Stanford, and SRI as models, but then pivoting around some of these models onto some new models that perhaps individuals, entrepreneurs here can be using, or even the university itself and the government and all of Lithuania can use for new models going forward. And finally, I'll close with some remarks. Okay, first, SRI International, a quick overview, just one or two slides. It's a world-leading R&D organization. As mentioned, it was founded by Stanford nearly 70 years ago, so we've been in existence for quite some time. We are a not-for-profit organization. We spun out of Stanford in 1970, but we have a very common bond with Stanford. We cooperate and combine with them on many, many projects. And RCA Labs, which you might remember, is now part of SRI. It's in Princeton, New Jersey. You can see, for those of you in the back, there are pictures of many of our campuses throughout the world. We have nearly 2,500 staff members, about 50% of them with advanced degrees, PhDs, Masters of Science degrees mostly. And I mentioned 20 locations worldwide, with last year turnover or revenue of around $570 million. So we've grown quite a bit since even we left Stanford. As mentioned, and I want to defer a little bit here with due respect to Andreas, who seems, according to his website, to be a real aficionado in science fiction and even, I guess, wrote a book about science fiction. I invite you to Silicon Valley and others as well, because science fiction becomes reality at SRI. It is true that while you don't hear too much about SRI, it's been responsible for the invention of the computer mouse, which of course Apple and Steve Jobs made famous. The first connection to the internet was from UCLA to SRI. If you're talking to a hotel system or to a airline reservation system through a computer-enabled technology, voice recognition, that's our SRI technology. Siri, as just mentioned, was invented at SRI, spun out as a startup company, funded by venture capitalists, and eventually Steve Jobs, before he passed on, that was his last major deal, he acquired Siri. If you enjoy Lithuanian basketball on high-definition TV, you're probably using or experiencing some SRI technology. If you're unlucky enough, but you're having surgery from a surgeon 3,000 miles away, but your surgery is taking place here. You're probably doing it through a Da Vinci device. That's a company now called Intuitive Surgical. It was founded at SRI. That company has products in over 100 countries and is now worth $28 billion US. And the list goes on and on. The first cure for malaria, cures for cancer, low-cost solar-grade silicon. We're in energy, carbon capture, a number of different innovations that have become world famous. In fact, we have spun off quite a few companies, over 100 companies over the years, and we're even more active today. We've spun out maybe 7 or 8 companies already this year, and I've circled some of these up here, including Siri, which spun off just a couple of years ago. Okay, enough about SRI, because my time is limited. Let's get on to this important topic of why are startup-friendly ecosystems so important, and exactly what is a startup-friendly ecosystem. So I want to introduce this topic by talking about the importance, and I hope those in government are listening very carefully, the importance of entrepreneurship to job creation. I think those of you who are entrepreneurs, and I see lots of students out here, I think you understand this fact, but not so many people do. Startups create the most jobs in the United States. For those of you in the back, what we have here is a graphic. These are, let's see, is this? Can't see that? No? It's not working. Okay. So I'll just describe it. So what you have is a graphic. The blue line is the startups and the responsibility for the number of jobs. And they're above the break even. So every year since 1977, they've been creating new jobs. Yeah, I've been trying. Thank you. This is going to work? This is a special one. It's green. Can you see that? But I don't know they can see it in the back. Okay. We need an innovation. You can see it? Okay. So the red line is all the jobs that have been either created or eliminated from large companies. Here's the break-even point. The most important point here is that in 23 plus 5, 28 years in the United States, startups have created 85 million jobs. Large companies have eliminated a net 30 million jobs. So if we did not have startups in the US, I would probably not be here right now, and a lot of people would not be enjoying such a nice standard of living. So startups are responsible, and my colleagues here, I know all this fact, for great job creation. Startups are also, particularly venture-backed startups, are essential to the economy because they're significant drivers of economic growth. Over the past 10 years, VC-backed firms, like the companies listed here, have increased the US GDP by 20% and added 10% of US private sector employment. These statistics are well known to some of us. Hopefully more and more people will begin to appreciate these. Now, I want to turn your attention to this study that just came out. It was sponsored by the World Economic Forum. The main professor on this was George Foster, who has quite an expert in entrepreneurship at Stanford University. George invited me and SRI to be part of this. The subject is perfect for this audience, I think: entrepreneurial ecosystems around the globe and company growth dynamics. Not only do you have information about how to start a company, but also how, more importantly, perhaps, to scale the company once you've got it off the ground. Okay, so this report is now out. It's public. It's about 40 pages in length. I'm not going to go through all of that. I'm going to give you some of the highlights. If you want a copy of that report, you can simply Google or go to your local search engine, my last name, and WEF, and that should pop out. And if you can't do that, I'll send it off to Vice Director Asta, and then you can send it off to people who would like to see it. So let me just go through this reasonably quickly. There are 8 pillars that were identified in the report of successful entrepreneurial ecosystems. Now, I'm going to go through the 8 pillars because I know you probably can't read that in the back, but I want to make sure that you all understand that these were not our opinions. This is not Professor Foster's opinions or Ernst & Young. This is from interviews that we actually did with over 1,000, actually 1,080 entrepreneurs on a worldwide basis. We in-depth interviewed them, and if you read through the report, you're going to actually get anecdotes and comments and quotes from many of these entrepreneurs. So it's not only is this good for the government and for university administration to read, but the students, I think, would get a big kick out of reading a number of these case studies. So the entrepreneurial ecosystem, the 8 pillars that were important as voted on by these entrepreneurs were as follows. Having the ability to access markets, big markets, human capital workforce or talent in their organizations, funding and finance, probably no surprise. Mentors, advisors, support systems were listed as very, very important. In fact, I think the 4th most important part. Having a regulatory framework and infrastructure that was supportive. In other words, government was supportive of setting up companies. Having education and training for the workforce so that they could hire people who could immediately be put to work as the company was trying to scale. Having a university system that acted as a catalyst for new company startups. And then having overall cultural support in the country to make these startups work. Now I'm going to have a slide or two on each one of these as we go through just to explain further. But before I do, I want to mention that we canvassed so many of these entrepreneurs all over the world that it became pretty obvious that there were 3 important, the most important factors by far were accessible markets, human capital workforce or talent, and having funding and finance. Now, as you would expect, Silicon Valley has become kind of a standard for all of these. In fact, we separated out Silicon Valley from the rest of the United States because in a way, if you visited Silicon Valley, and I live there, I know many of you have maybe not been there and some have, it's sort of a bubble. The kinds of things that we do there are not necessarily done in Dayton, Ohio, or in Florida, or in Texas, or lots of other places in the US, let alone in other parts of the world. But all pillars are certainly represented, and it creates a very startup-friendly ecosystem, these pillars. First is accessible markets. What do we really mean? Of course, this is a very colorful picture, and I believe it's of China, one of the biggest markets, of course, now in the world. Well, accessible market characteristics have a lot to do with important issues to decide. So what market or markets are you going to address? And where will you be doing commercial business? Will this be a domestic market or a foreign export market? Now, I took a picture yesterday. I was over at the number of the labs at Kaunas University, and this happens to be a picture of the person, I think, who's running the ultrasound lab. And, is that right? Okay. And what I like about this, you can't read this, I'll read this off to you, is he was making a presentation. And I immediately saw him as being a very, very insightful person because what he said was the first principle of my management of my ultrasound business, he didn't talk so much about his technology. He talked about the fact that the Lithuanian market is, and I'm quoting, too small for this activity. Therefore, we are acting worldwide. Now, that's a very, very important insight on this gentleman's part because he realized that if he was trying to make a business of this ultrasound in Lithuania, he would probably fail. It's just not big enough market. So immediately he's thinking, I think as my previous colleague here, Will, mentioned, that he's going global right away because that's where his market is. Many entrepreneurs make this mistake. They don't understand the markets that they're in or the markets that they're trying to access. It may sound fairly basic, but we see this all the time. Once you've decided on the market, of course, then you have to decide what is your supply chain to get your product done? And once you've got that settled, then how do you get your product distributed? All of these are huge issues that many of these entrepreneurs out here are facing and are deciding upon every day. And it helps to be iterating on these in order to decide the correct ones so you don't waste both time and money. Now, Silicon Valley, of course, has had 70 years of addressing new markets. In fact, in many cases, they've sort of created markets. They've anticipated new markets, and then they've sort of been part of the creation of those. This is a very, very busy slide, and it simply shows all the different, or not all, but some of the different industries that have been created in the past 70 years, all the way through to social networking with Facebook. And now on the bottom, we see MOOCs, which are massively online coursework that are completely disrupting college and university education systems, big data, personalized medicine. So the list goes on, and in Silicon Valley, people pride themselves on sort of reinventing, repotting, recreating a whole new set of industries. And that leads to clusters and so on and so forth. So the Valley has been so good because it just keeps recreating these kinds of things, anticipating new markets, and understanding how to access them. The next pillar is talent or workforce. Of course, I represent Stanford and SRI, so I know a bit about that. I also teach entrepreneurship at Stanford's Business School. And there and in the engineering school, in fact, in many of the schools, the idea is to create talented entrepreneurs. So if you go to Stanford, it's a beautiful campus, and the architecture is fantastic, and they're iconic buildings. But for the most part, it's not just the buildings that are sensational. It's really the world-class faculty that we have. I mentioned Nobel Prize winners, of course, but also all the international students that we have. At the business school at Stanford, it's a little-known fact that 42% of the students who attend there are international students. They're from outside the US. And guess what? They want to go back to their home countries for the most part and start up companies. That seems to be the most popular thing these days. They don't, it used to be in my day when I was going there, we would want to work for McKinsey or Booz Allen and Hamilton or big financial firm like Goldman Sachs. But now all of these students, they want to go back and start up their own companies, and they do. And so that's what Stanford is preparing them for. In fact, we have had a Center for Entrepreneurial Studies for quite some time, which creates a dynamic community of entrepreneurs and thought leaders who want to change the world in a positive way. You should know that 20% of the classes at the business school are in entrepreneurial activities. 17% of 400 graduating students go on to start their own company right after school. That's an incredible statistic. They all could be making lots of money doing other things. They make not so much money because they want to start their own path. And 40% of graduates go into early stage startups. So it's quite a diverse crowd who wants to do these kinds of things. So you have many people who are sharing what you're all interested in. I started a class with a colleague of mine on doing high potential ventures in developing economies. The class was oversubscribed. It was just supposed to be for business school students, but we had students from all sorts of undergraduates and engineering students and so forth want to attend. And last year, the first year of that class, we had students, teams, working on projects from Brazil, Vietnam, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Colombia, Mexico, Indonesia, and India. And this year, we'll have even more countries represented. So it really has become quite an interesting area. By the way, I don't know whether you knew it, but over 50% of the companies that are founded in Silicon Valley are started by CEOs and founders who have come into the Valley, not from outside the US, inside the US, but from outside the US. 52%, as a matter of fact. Finally, in way of talent, next is the D School at Stanford. The D School stands for the Design School. It's an area where there's a lot of collaboration that takes place between engineers, between business school students, med school students, law students, liberal arts, School of Education. They're all coming, they're all talking to each other, they're collaborating, they're coming up with ideas, they're meeting new friends, and in many cases, they're launching new companies. I want to congratulate the students out here yet again. This talent poll no longer calls for deep experience. You know, 20 years ago, you needed to have 20 years of experience in order to start up a new company and get funded. These days, none of those people seem to be getting funded. It's really the students who are getting funded. So you can see that the companies that are represented here are all founded by students, and more students are starting up companies and getting a lot of serious attention from venture capitalists. Speaking of venture capital, the next pillar is Silicon Valley venture capital, and maybe let's pivot off of that as to how Lithuania and many other countries can think about funding. Obviously, in Silicon Valley, we have lots of funding opportunities. Silicon Valley represents 40% of all the funding that takes place, the VC funding that takes place in the United States. It's an amazing place to be on Sand Hill Road. But Silicon Valley VC is a very, very tough, difficult act to follow. However, don't lose hope. There are compelling alternatives that people are using around the globe. They're using friends and family funding. It doesn't cost as much these days to get a company off the ground. They're using angel investors, a newish category called super angels, another newish category called crowdsourcing, government grants or loans, which used to be only for large companies. Now, at least in the US and other places, governments are providing grants and loans to smaller companies, startups, commercial banks, and many others that are being created. I want to just kind of focus on one, the super angel model. Who is a super angel? Well, it's a small fund size, maybe in the US, $20 or $25 million, which is actually pretty small for US. Most of the larger VC funds are in the neighborhood of 200 million, 300 million, sometimes $1 billion. The super angel has a specific investment focus. They have many, many small investments. Out of that $20 million, that company might have 50 investments. Very low value of investments. You can work out the math yourselves, but sometimes it's only $250,000 to $500,000 per investment. And it focuses lots of networking, seeing many deals, lots of different investments. And this fellow here, founder of First Round Capital, one that's fairly famous, has returned 35% to limited partners in the first two funds. So super angels, I'm associated with a couple of super angels, and it's they're friendly toward founders as well. Next, the next pillar I want to just briefly mention has to do with support systems. Support systems, what do we mean by that? Well, they're critical components that help foster entrepreneurship and make it easier for an entrepreneur to get off the ground. In the US, we have many, many mentors in Silicon Valley, advisors, coaches, board members, and I've met quite a few people here as well who can act in that role. A CEO coach is not unusual. The CEO, the founder CEO who doesn't have experience can confide in and talk to. I actually advise 4 CEOs who are under the age of 25. One is calling me from Turkey, one is calling me from Brazil, and the others are in Silicon Valley. Legal, having legal help that is not just focused on large companies, but also who knows how to set up a corporation, small corporation, and also work on intellectual property for small companies is very, very important. Accounting, investment banking, commercial banking relationships, recruiting. Trying to recruit for a small company when you have no money to pay to that executive is very, very difficult, of course. So having the right recruiting agency representing you, rather than maybe a huge agency, is incredibly important. Real estate, IT support, and so on. In Silicon Valley, this has been grown up over the last 20, 30 years, so people almost take these kinds of things for granted, but we're seeing more and more of these things in certain pockets of the world. The next area is regulatory environment, and this cuts both ways. Really, what we're talking about here is government policies. Let me just mention one that comes to mind. How long does it take in your country to actually get a license to operate a business? In some countries, it takes over a year. In other countries, it can take 2 hours. So if you're a startup where speed is important, does a year help you or hurt you? It's kind of a rhetorical question. I think you know the answer to that, okay? So simple things, it seems like those kinds of things, you need to understand. We teach our students, before you go into a country, before you want to start up a company in that country, you need to understand all of these elements. What's the patent and IP strategy? Does the country have an IP policy and a set of laws, or are there no laws whatsoever and they're just trying to figure it out? What's their view toward bankruptcy? In some countries, if you are an entrepreneur and you bankrupt a company, even though you've been trying, you can actually be put in jail. That's not exactly an incentive to start up a company, I would argue. On the other hand, in the US, if you're honest and you try, but the company does not work, and as we all know, most small companies do not work, then you can start all over again. So there's more of a soft hand there. Government-funded research. Does that go to small companies, or does it only go to larger companies? What are the employment laws? What if you need to fire somebody in a company? What happens with that? And so on and so forth. The next area, the next pillar, has to do with education and training, and also has to do with education systems being catalysts for new company formation. Now, I've mentioned on the left-hand side here a number of universities. The first is Stanford, Yale, MIT, Harvard, and of course the university, my colleagues from the University of California, Berkeley, from San Jose State, California, and Cal Poly that I used to be associated with, community colleges, trade schools, and so forth. They have a very important role to play. So they're training the next level of workforce that's going to be working in many of these startups. And a lot of these jobs are new types of jobs. We don't have experience at these. The people at Facebook, the people at Twitter, the people at some of these new companies, they've never had these kinds of jobs before, okay? What is content marketing? Many people didn't hear of that up until the last year or two. So these new kinds of jobs, they need to be thought of, and people need to be trained properly in order to contribute immediately when they go into a company. In addition to that, universities are increasingly sponsoring and being catalysts for new company formation. So it used to be that universities at Stanford at least, you were not allowed to start up a company on campus. In fact, now at Stanford, you have studios. We don't call them incubators. You have studios where projects can get off the ground. Once you get funded, you have to leave. But until that time, you now have a local place to be able to hang out. Culture, my final element. Silicon Valley culture has become kind of famous, but it's always evolving. Many, of course, students aspire to entrepreneurship, and researchers as well. Children, engineers, scientists, managers, executives, they all want to do something in life. Success is rewarded first by prestige, and then secondarily by financial means. People don't start up companies necessarily to become rich, although in some cases they do if they're successful. They will start up companies because they're ambitious and they want to prove something both to themselves and to society. Importantly, failure is not punished. Now, it's not like we enjoy failure. None of us enjoy failure. But if you have a failure and you're able to learn from it, you can explain what you've learned from that and how you're going to do better on your next assignment. And I've already met some people here who have failed and started all over again. You can get funded. You can become a success story in Silicon Valley. And then finally, the idea of knowledge and people moving around rapidly between big and small companies and so forth, it's legendary. This happens to be a picture of the original Facebook campus on California Avenue. Now they have taken over the Sun Microsystem campus, only 1 or 2 miles away from where we are at SRI. A final one that's mentioned in the report and has come up in my discussions with the ministers today of the economy and education, and yesterday as well, that I thought I would add, is having supportive large companies to small companies. And I call that kind of a symbiotic or mutually beneficial relationship. What do I really mean by that? In most economies that I go to, large companies are trying to squash small companies down. And I think that's a big mistake for large companies. In the Valley, those large companies in the Valley are actually not wanting to do that. Why? First, large companies provide a training ground and experience for people to do startups. Large companies can provide a supporting revenue stream from the startup ecosystem. The small company gets some revenue, and the large company gets to try something out, and maybe they learn from that, and they can enhance their own products. And finally, for the large companies, startups become actually an R&D farm that large companies can pick off and do an M&A or do a trade sale and bring that small company into the large company and add to the product line, add to the management team. Cisco Systems, a very famous company, John Chambers, has made a great career out of doing that. He has combined R&D in his company, but for the most part, a lot of his company is based on acquisitions of tiny companies. Steve Jobs has done that. Google has done that. They bring the company into the organization. They enjoy the management team. The management team stays there. And maybe they leave after a few years, but meanwhile, the product has been evolved. Okay, so we've talked about all of these elements. And as I move through to a close, Silicon Valley, as we understand, at least as I do, is the most complete model. We've talked about all of these on the left here, the markets and talent and so on. Trying to duplicate Silicon Valley, I believe, is a mistake. okay? You can try. It's incredibly hard. I mean, duplicate. I don't mean learn from. I mean duplicate. Here are some of the, just in some of the states, you can see Silicon Bayou. My favorite is Silicon Valley in Iowa. It's a, if you don't know, it's a big farm in Iowa. There's a lot of corn, so they call it Silicon Valley. Billy Can Valley, I think because they have goats, I guess, in Australia. I don't know. And many, many others as well, okay? So there's lots of different names that are coined about this. I would suggest that you take the learnings from this report, from what I've been saying, from all of my colleagues, from what you've been doing, maybe personal visits to Silicon Valley. Take what you think will work, what will not work, introduce that, and push that along. In Chile, where we do an awful lot of business, they have coined the term Startup Chile. Now, what is that? Startup Chile is they invite entrepreneurs, this is their website, from outside the country into Chile, and they want to spur, they want to encourage entrepreneurship by bringing these people in. They pay them money to start up their companies. We have a program with Chile where we actually, I'm on the Startup Chile board, but we also do Chilean entrepreneurs. We bring the competition for the entire country. We bring the best 5 projects into Silicon Valley on our campus. For 5 weeks, we go through a boot camp where it's from the beginning of the morning all the way to the evening. You meet VCs, you meet other entrepreneurs and so forth. You try to get funded. Already out of 10 teams, 3 have been funded. Pretty sensational statistic. So that's been working. There are many others internationally. I consider New York almost to be international because New York has never been known for startups and entrepreneurship. But now here, it's just, I just discovered this. It's called Startup New York. And then the governor is now saying you have a big tax incentive. You're not going to pay any property taxes, state, local, corporate taxes, and so forth. Please come to my state. Startup companies. This guy knows that it creates new jobs and new GDP for his country. Alto has been well chronicled. I don't know that I need to necessarily talk about that, as to say that that's an experiment that has really only just begun just a few years ago, and we'll see where that all goes. So, as I close, what does the innovation economy require? Well, in my way of thinking, it requires countries to have cooperation between 4 important groups. Government, that is the national government for the most part, but local governments as well. Established industries, of course, who have been in business for quite a while. The education system, not just K through 12, but also the college and university system. And then finally, having at the equal point of the table, having a representation from venture capitalists, from entrepreneurs, from startup company people as well. If these 4 groups, and we see this working in some countries, are working collaboratively, these are the countries that are going to move ahead and move their GDP ahead and become the winners in the next 20, 30, 40 years. Those where they're fighting and having a lot of infighting, they're going to fall behind. We have partnerships throughout the world at SRI. Here are some of the ones that we enjoy, but we've been doing business now in over 30 countries. And so I have lots of experience in, it's my first time in Lithuania, but lots of experience throughout the world in seeing what different economies, different governments, different universities are trying out. And it's fascinating for me to see this, and again, I invite you to read the World Economic Forum report. As I close, this is the best time ever for innovation for, I think, Lithuania. The road is hard. It will take time. This is not a one-year kind of a fix, if that's what you're looking for. The rewards can be exceptional. There are major opportunities at the intersections of disciplines. I kind of like this one where it goes technology and research and customers and markets. That's kind of what maybe Kaunas University of Technology can be all about. Concluding thoughts, and these I think are pictures from last year's conference. I want to mention to you again that we are in the global innovation economy. Startups are wonderful. They provide GDP and job growth. There are 8 pillars that you should all think about, and not just think about, but act on. Entrepreneurship drives new, higher income jobs. Older companies, and I do a completely different speech on older companies and how sometimes they fail. They can't compete. They'll die if they don't innovate. Successful countries, hopefully like Lithuania, will have tight cooperation between the 4 groups that I mentioned. So find your formula for success and start right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sasinski. It was extremely interesting and useful. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a lunch break, and we'll reconvene in 1 hour, approximately 15 to 2. We'll have art, culture, and technology show, and afterwards we'll have 2 panel discussions. First of all, how the startups come true place of birth, and the next one, how to access USA and foreign markets. So I hope discussions will be full of practical advice. So enjoy your lunch, and let's meet in 1 hour.